What's up, everybody? This is NealReal, and this is the Father You Didn't Have. Wisdom from an elder about relationships and happiness in life. Like, share, and subscribe. Now let's get right into this topic. How to tell if a person is a good match for you. Well, I've come up with 11 things to consider when working with somebody that you want to have a close relationship with. Now, this can apply to basic sexual relationships. It could apply to a business relationship, a friendship, a committed relationship of some kind. So I've come up with this list and it's worked for me, and I just want to share with you. So if you don't match with everything on this list with the other person, it doesn't mean that they are not a good fit at all for you. It's just that they end up being put into a different position in your life, or the connection is not going to be as deep. First one is easy conversation. If you want to tell if just starting out with a person, if y'all going to be a good match for whatever you're trying to do, is the conversation easy? What do I mean by that? Well, when you talk to them, you feel like there's somebody you knew already. When you ask them questions, you get full answers. You don't get one-word answers and stuff like that. When they ask you questions, those questions don't set you up to where you can only answer yes or no. They allow you to express yourself. They ask open-ended questions to express yourself because they want to know more about you. The conversation is equal, meaning that both sides are able to communicate and share. It's not this one-sided thing where somebody's just blabbing off at the mouth and the other person is feeling like, I got to get out of this conversation, or I can't even get in to talk and share anything. You feel like it's a reciprocal conversation. It's a smooth conversation. It's not awkward where, even in some silences it's okay and y'all are cool with that. But it's not awkward. It's smooth. In some cases, the conversation can be long because you're just having a good time, connecting with another person. And these are our initial things. These are like initial meetings you have. Maybe a first meeting, you just saw this person somewhere and you started a conversation. If the conversation feels like you're being heard, they're giving you enough attention. Sometimes you're talking to somebody and it feels like you're talking to a brick wall. You see? So these things you should take into consideration as whether or not this person is a good match for you. If the conversation is easy and you just feel like you're clicking with them, as they say, that's a good indicator that this is going to work out going forward. Now, the second thing you can look at is mutual sexual attraction. The way you discover this is through flirting. It could be, words, touching, but during this conversation or perhaps on the first date, is there a mutual sexual attraction? Can you talk about sex with this person? Can you mention that you want to be with them sexually? And are they responding in a positive way? If not, then this is not a person that is compatible with you when it comes to having sex. You may have to deal with them on another level, but sex is not the thing that's going to be working with you guys. I often tell men that they should try to have sex early with women, because it shows whether or not this woman is sexually attracted to you. Some women will deal with a man they are not sexually attracted to because they need his resources. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about emotional support, attention, things of that nature. But when it comes to sex, they don't really feel them like that. And so I always tell men to make sure that this woman is sexually attracted to you, so that you don't end up in a long-term relationship where you're being told she has a headache, she's tired anytime you want to have sex. You see, that's a woman that don't really want to be with you. She just got with you for other reasons. She's not really finding you sexually appealing, and you don't want that because you want to have sex, but she doesn't. And so that's an incompatible relationship, and that's going to bring frustration to you. So you need to go for the quote unquote draws early. Okay. You need to be saying, let's hook up, let's go to my place and let's do this. And if, like I said, if there's hesitation, if there's cancellations, if there's resistance of any kind, this is an indicator that the woman is not comfortable with you and she may not be sexually attracted to you. And that's okay. Not to pursue anything further with her if she is not sexually attracted to you, if that's what you want to do. If you wanted to have sex with her, then that's not going to happen. So what's the use of finding out that later down the line after you're in a relationship and you didn't jump through hoops and did the whole 90-day thing or the 3-day, 4-day rule or whatever these women are putting some of these men through? You don't want to find out later, and you've wasted your money in sometimes too. Some of you think you got to pay and all this stuff and all to find out this woman really ain't feeling you sexually. So it's important to see about that early. And that is another point of compatibility. You have to consider that if this is a woman that you're going to be in a sexual relationship with. Now, the next thing right after that is sexual compatibility. Once you are having sex with her, how do you feel about it? Okay. And ladies, this goes for you too. It's not just for men. I mean, everybody, this applies to both men and women. All right. How do you feel about it? Did it feel good? Did you feel anything? Was it amazing? Was it electrifying? Sometimes people don't feel anything, or it felt bad. That's an indicator of a lack of sexual compatibility. However, if it was amazing and the man is calling you back later for sex, or the woman is calling you back, it's an indicator of sexual compatibility. There's nothing wrong with anybody if people are not compatible sexually. It's just simply that they're not compatible. So I hate when I hear people talk about so-and-so's pussy was trash, or this guy's dick is trash and his dick is whack. And it's like, no, that was a incompatible sexual experience you had. That's all. That man may blow some other woman's mind in the bedroom. So once you get past that, at least that the sex portion of your relationship is going to be fine. That when you do engage with them sexually, it's going to be a good time. Number 4 here, another point to consider is if they support your human needs. All right. So I've mentioned there's 10 of them. 5 of them you get directly from other people. We all are interdependent beings. We need to get our needs met by other people. This is just the way it is. You need each other. We are interdependent. So look for things like like-mindedness. Are they like-minded? Do they provide enough affection? Do they admire you? Do they give you attention and recognition? And I talked about these in depth in other videos. And then finally, do they give you emotional support? Do you see a lot of empathy from them? If these things are here, this is a great person to be with. These are some of the attributes I mentioned for a friend. So this is another level of compatibility, that this person can really support many of my needs I have. So continuing on, you want to consider number 5 here, religion, spirituality, being an atheist, and secularism. Okay. Where do you guys fit with this? There are some people who are religious, but they're okay with their partner being an atheist or somebody who is secular. And then some people need another religious person, or they're against people that's spiritual. And so you have to work that out. You got to talk about that. Where are you with all of this stuff? What spectrum are you on? Work that out. Now, if you match, great. However, you don't have to all the time. And that's the thing. Some people are okay with that being different, particularly if you respect their religion or their spirituality, even though you don't necessarily agree with it or practice it. So even if that's talked about and you don't have the same religion or whatever, you can still say that, okay, this is a match because things are okay in this area. Number 6 is consciousness. This is similar to religious beliefs and spirituality, but consciousness is the level of which you are conscious about the world we live in. So if you know about the conscious community, you will know that people have certain views about how the world works, and how deep in consciousness are you going to go, or what level are you at in consciousness? So this is something you need to consider when you talk to somebody. What are their worldview? How do they think the world works? And if y'all match on that, cool. If the other person is like, I don't know, and this is how I think, and they may be what they call a sheeple. If they're willing to come out of that, and you're cool with being with a sheeple or somebody who's kind of ignorant to how the world works and what's going on, then fine. But it's just a point to consider. All right. Number 7 is goals and a mission. As a man, you must come with the goals and the mission already. And then you got to seek out a woman or allow a woman who has the same goals and missions to get close and to see if whether or not she wants to work with your goals and your mission. And so if this is hitting where it's on the same page and y'all both want to do the same thing, great. Some women have a different mission and goals in life, and so that don't align with the man. And so if that's happening, there's going to be a clash and they're not going to be a good match. Number 8 is class or social class. This has to be considered. There are high status class, low class people. This also includes education levels and mindset towards money. And so you have to consider this is very important, because the next thing that's going to come on the list is family. But before I get there, people's associations in their life is dependent upon their social class in some cases. So if you're considering somebody, you got a different social class, you got to really talk to them about that. Is this going to be a problem? How can we work this out if we're in different social classes? And it's just something, once again, to consider, because if you don't talk about that, you'll find yourself clashing over this thing because you didn't discuss it. This is a big deal. And education, once again, I don't want to forget that, but the way people think and their knowledge of how things work, and some people just got a different vocabulary and they can't understand the other person because of the education differences. So do you want to be with somebody with a higher education than you or a lower education? And this kind of goes back to the first point I had about easy conversation. You can find that out just talking to them. You see? So going to number 9. Number 9 is about family acceptance. If you are planning to merge your life with this person, you need to make sure that the family also accepts you, because if they don't, then there's going to be conflict. What kind of people are in her family or in his family? By dating her and going over their house and talking to them, you can see what kind of people she come from. And if they're decent people and they add value to your life and they are loving, warm people and respectful, then great. These are people that you will add to your family, to your circle rather, because you're associated with her or him. But if you see some toxicity, if you see some neglect, if you see something that's off and you realize that this person is going to be in my life, if I marry this person, I'm going to have to deal with them too, then that's something you have to consider. Okay? And I was told this by an older guy back in the day when I was young. He said, when you marry a woman, you marry the family. And I experienced this firsthand with my first marriage. And the woman that I married, her family was not so healthy. And that affected us because of that. And so that's a real thing. You have to consider this if you want to see if you're compatible. Number 10 is making sure you have the same core values. What do you value in life? It could be, I value wisdom. I value honesty. I value authenticity. I value whatever you want to you have on your list or whatever, but you should probably create a list of values. And so it's not to say that you get out a list of your values and try to compare them with their list, but you need to be looking at the person and their behavior, because people will show you what they value based off of their behavior. This is something that you have to consider, because if somebody don't value authenticity, that means that they're willing to be fake and phony to get what they want in life. And that means that they're fake and phony with you. This is a real thing. Some people have a way of going about life where they don't care about stepping on certain people, hurting certain people, as long as they get what they want. Their thing is get it by any means necessary. They got some other kind of values, some other kind of principles they have in their life. So it's important that you watch them. And finally, because of digital media and things like that, you can go online and take a personality test. And what this does is give you an assessment of who you are. It doesn't mean it's completely accurate. It gives you an assessment, and then they also will say, well, you may be compatible with this kind of person. And what they'll do is give you 4 letters that represents your personality type. Look at this stuff, because this is a science back behind by this, and you don't have to take it and say this is who I am and this is exactly who I am or whatever, but it's cool to look at those things and see for yourself. And then if the other person has something that is compatible with that, it's not to say you have to find a person exactly like you, but I encourage you to look into some of those things. So there you have it. 11 points to consider to tell if a person is a good match for you. Now, once again, you don't have to match on everything on the list. It's just finding where you match at and then deciding where that person can fit into your life. And then, of course, communicating that to them. So say, for instance, that you can have a decent conversation with this person. It flows pretty well. There's a mutual attraction there and there's sexual compatibility. Well, so far, this person is a fuck buddy. But when it comes to being like-minded, they may not be that affectionate outside the bedroom. They're just interested in sex or whatever. Then that's just a fuck buddy. That's a relationship just around sex. And you can tell them, look, basically, I don't see that our goals match. If one person is trying to advance the relationship beyond just sex, and you looking at this list here and you seeing that they don't match up, then you can just say, look, what? I don't see it like that. I don't see us, going beyond this point because we have these differences. That's just an example of where if only you have sexual compatibility and you can talk to each other, and that's it. That's pretty much a person that you just having sex with. And that's okay. There are people who just get together just for that, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with casual sexual encounters, especially a person who you are familiar with and y'all do it on a regular basis, right? Now, let's say a person fits you on human support, the human resources like affection, admiration. They're good at emotional support. They give you a lot of attention and recognition. They admire you. They have a like mind. There's a community feeling when you're dealing with them. That's a friend. And let's say you also, you have good sex together. This is a sexual friendship, or what some people call friends with benefits. Okay. Now, let's say the human support thing is there, but the sexual compatibility is not there, or there's not even any mutual sexual attraction. Well, guess what? You just got a friend now. There won't be any sex going on, and you have to determine whether or not you want to maintain that relationship. But if it's a mutual agreement and understanding that, hey, we're just not sexually attracted to one another, we're not sexually compatible, and if both agree on that, then great, you both be friends and you don't have to be sexual, obviously. Now, that relationship as a friend, it goes as deep as it needs to go. So say, for instance, y'all got the same religion. There you go. Let's say y'all both conscious, all right? And these are the things that you have to look at. Now we're in like number 5 and 6 and 7. Religion, consciousness, goals, and mission. These are things that you look at when you're now looking at a committed relationship, where you are committing to the other person to provide their human needs and everything, and they are now a priority in your life. And so say a woman is seeking to be a man's boyfriend, where she's exclusive, if you're doing monogamy, the man has to consider these other things. Beyond sexual compatibility, is this woman supportive of my human needs, and am I supporting her human needs? Does she have the same religious beliefs, or is she spiritual like me, or is she an atheist like me, or a secularist? That has to match, because you can't be committed to somebody who's not necessarily on the same page in those areas. Consciousness is another one. Goals and mission, that's another one. Not necessarily necessary for the committed relationship, but it's good to have. But I would say, finally, which is the biggest one here, is marriage. When you merge two people's lives together, definitely got to be the same consciousness level. Definitely have to be on the same religious or spiritual path or whatever. You still most definitely have to check out social class. You got to be the same or have worked that out. Definitely with the family acceptance thing, you got to make sure that that's okay. And then core values and principles must be talked about and dealt with. And then the personality test. There must be an understanding of each other so that you can operate effectively, because introverts and extroverts are different, but sometimes they don't work together well, but sometimes they do. And then sometimes there's an extrovert that wants the introvert to be more extroverted, and it doesn't work that way. So taking that personality test and making sure that you know where you're at and how each other operates as a person will help you say, okay, I'm compatible, or I'm not gonna, or this is not going to work. So this is why people have to really think about and have real strong conversations with people prior to moving into some of these relationships, especially commitment. A sexual friendship, while you're committed to being a good friend to that person, as long as they're not necessarily a priority in your life, because you got other friends, and it's whoever calls you first, and wherever they at as far as proximity. But when you get to what they call a girlfriend or a boyfriend, that's when you've made a commitment to make a priority in your life for that other person. And so you got to make sure that when you make a commitment that you've gone over many of these steps to see that you're compatible, because people tend not to want to break up after making a commitment. You don't break up once you make a commitment. We made a commitment. We've been dating for a year and a half. She's now my girlfriend, and now 2 weeks later there's a disagreement. Now we're breaking up. You don't do that, because you've invested a year and a half, and decided that this is now a commitment. So it's important to really vet people before you get in that relationship, so that you don't end up trying to hold on to a relationship because you've invested. Find out these things prior to making a commitment. That's all you got to do. Now, friendship, you can cut off. You can cut that off. If you see something goofy happening and you like I said, there's no commitment there. Okay, this ain't working. Let me chop this off. Fuck buddy, you can chop that off. But once you make that commitment, it's a little bit difficult because you're invested and you don't want to just give up just because of one little thing. And so make sure those little things are not that big of a deal, and you can work them out. But this list is very important. I think that it's helpful to look at when you're dealing with somebody. Finally, marriage, like I said, that's the biggest thing, because you're merging your life. And I don't really support legal marriage, but you're merging your life. And let's say if you just decide you're going to have your girlfriend move in with you, that's a marriage. I consider that a marriage. And so this woman is sleeping next to you. She got her toiletries and her stuff in the same bathroom. If her stuff is in your house, and you better have vetted this person, because now all your stuff is mixed up together, and you don't want to be breaking up later on, or like most people do, they tolerate until they can't tolerate no more, and then they break up. And that's because they didn't vet the person. You don't want to do that. So it's important to go through this process and look at, where does this person fit in my life based off of this 11 points to consider. That's all I got for you now. Hope that helps you. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for listening to the end. I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can email me at neal@nealreal.com. You can also go to my website, nealreal.com. I encourage you to check out NealReal.com. That's NealReal.com. Or you can email me at neal@nealreal.com. Have a blessed day.